Hi, this is Diana from Yarnetti's Crochet, and today I'm here to teach you how to make the Pebble Ridge beanie. This is a gently textured, gorgeous beanie with a great fit and a beautiful round crown. And I can make this beanie. I've made several. I can make it in about 3 hours. This uses 3-weight yarn, so I want to show you these beanies right here, these 3 beanies right here. I was able to get out of 1 cake of mandala yarn. This happens to be, I believe it's Doxy is the colorway. You can actually get about 3.5 beanies out of 1 cake. So if you bought 2 cakes, you could make 7 beanies. This particular size is a lady size medium. This beanie, this is gorgeous. This was made with Premier Yarns non-pilling, let me pull it out, non-pilling DK, everyday DK. This is in the colorway of khaki. And it is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And this one was actually made with 2 different colors of Premier DK, the regular DK yarn. The stripe is in the colorway lavender, and the main body of the hat is made with orchid. And it has super good squish, very, very soft and nice. And this one, I had a little bit of a cake of mandala yarn left over, and it took about 150-200 yards left of a cake, and I made this gorgeous hat. And I can't remember the colorway of the hat, but I love using mandala for this hat design because the striping is gradual and gentle, and mandala has these long color runs, so you get this beautiful striping. One of the things I really like about this hat is, and you can look at the inside of it, it's just, the inside is as neat and tidy as the outside, and the join, because of the way the stitch pattern works, is fairly invisible. I'm looking around for it actually right now. I'm looking for my join. Is that the join? Yeah, this is the join right here. So I'm struggling even to find the join. I mean, you can see it if you look really, really hard, but it's not super obvious. And again, this has a lovely round crown. It doesn't look flat at the top. And it's a gorgeous hat, and it doesn't take too long to make. So today we're going to be making this hat using Premier Basic DK in the color celery. And the other supplies that you're going to be needing to make this hat are 2 hooks. I used a 4mm or G hook, and for part of the brim I used a 3.75mm or F hook. It's important to have a tool to measure to see how you're progressing through your hat, some scissors, and a yarn needle, and as always some stitch markers. Now what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to build this hat a step at a time. We're going to do the crown, and this is why I have the stitch marker here. The stitch marker shows the total crown, the crown part. From the stitch marker to the edge of the ribbing is the body, and then this part down at the bottom is the ribbing. So we'll make the hat in 3 different parts. And be sure to stick to the end because I do have some tips on how you can make this hat in smaller or in larger sizes, and how to make this hat using a 4-weight yarn. A lot of times people don't necessarily have 3-weight yarn in their stash, but they definitely have 4-weight yarn, and I give you tips on how you can make this hat with 4-weight yarn as well. All right, so let's get started. We're going to get started with the first part of the hat. We need to do a setup round. And I use a magic circle because it makes a nice tight center. There's a lot of different videos out there on how to make a magic circle. This is how I do mine. I encourage you to look at as many videos as possible on how to make a magic circle and practice. It's a very good skill to have in your toolkit of skills. If you do not know how to make a magic circle and you're not interested in learning how to make a magic circle, you can always do a chain 4 and slip stitch to form a ring, because we're going to be crocheting into this ring. I'm going to do another chain, so we actually have 2 chain stitches, and we're going to complete 10 double crochets into the center of the ring. I would not consider this hat to be a beginner level hat. That said, if you are somebody who is a very motivated beginner and you're willing to watch the video over a few times on parts that might be confusing to you, go for it. I was one of those crocheters. Early on in my crochet journey, I would just dive into projects, and I didn't really necessarily have the knowledge or skills, and I learned along the way, which was fine. I need to count my stitches here. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now with your magic circle, sometimes this tail gets wrapped around the loop. I encourage you to unwrap it so it's not twisted around before you pull it to tighten up that loop. I don't tighten mine completely. I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch. So I have that chain 2, which does not count as a stitch. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 double crochets into the center. So that's your round 1. I'm going to tighten up my slip stitch a little bit. Chain 1. Now we're going to start round 2. We're going to make a double crochet into the very first stitch, and this is an increase round. Now the next one is going to be a front post double crochet around the very first stitch from the previous row. So that means I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the back, around the back of the post of that stitch, yarn over, pull through, and complete the double crochet. So that was an increase. So I actually double crocheted into the stitch. Then I did a front post double crochet around the stitch into the next double crochet into the top of that stitch. Now I'm going to do a front post around that same stitch I just put a double crochet into the top of. So yarn over, front post, double crochet, if you've never done front post double crochets, I'm going to go through it slowly again. Here's the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, just like you normally would. I'm going to separate these out. You can see that double crochet. That's the post of the stitch. Let me take this out. You see the V at the top? This is the top of the stitch. This is the post of the stitch. We're going to add a double crochet into the top of that stitch. I'm going to make sure I go through both loops of that V. Here's my double crochet, and here's the next is an increase. So around that same stitch, I just made a double crochet into the top. Now I'm going to do a front post around the post of that stitch. Front post double. One more time. Double crochet into the top. Front post double around the post of that stitch. By the time you're done with this round, you're going to have 20 stitches. You're going to have 10 regular double crochets and 10 of these front post doubles. It'll be easy to count once we get there. So go ahead and complete this round. I'm going to meet you at the end or near the end, and we'll finish the last couple of stitches together, and then we'll count the stitches in the round. So here we are at the very end of the round. I have one stitch left. I'm going to double crochet into that top of that stitch, front post double, and before I join, I'm going to count my stitches. Let me count the front post doubles first because they pop right out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then my double crochets in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now I'm ready to join into the top of the first double crochet right here. And I encourage you, if you're not completely sure where those stitches are, start marking your first stitch with a stitch marker, just so you're exactly sure where to insert your hook. I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to tighten up my slip stitch, and I'm going to tighten up my ring a little bit more at this point. Looks great. Okay, so now we are ready for round 3. So just chain 1 and make this a fairly loose chain. Pull up your loop just a little bit and chain 1. Don't make it super tight. So if you look at what you have this stitch that's sort of tucked behind. These double crochets look like they're behind the front post. The front post stitches pop out at you. just like that. So the way this pattern works in this hat, it alternates front post double crochet with regular double crochet. And on each round, you're going to, whatever you have a double crochet in, you have your double crochet here. In the next round, you're going to pop it out with a front post double crochet. And the stitch that is already a front post, you're just going to double crochet into that stitch. So you do the opposite. So this was a double crochet. We're going to front post, pop it right out with a front post. This was a front post, regular double. Pop that double crochet out with a front post, regular double crochet into the previous front post. So I'll show you what that looks like. It's a lot of words. It's easier to just show you. So I'm going to pop out that double crochet that's behind with a front post double crochet. This was a front post from the previous round. I'm just going to do a regular double into the top. This one's kind of tucked behind. You can see it. I'm going to pop it out with a front post double. Double in the front post. That's the way the pattern works. The thing is, what we're doing is we're crocheting in the round. So that means that we have to increase. So the way we're going to increase, instead of doing just one double crochet in that first front post, we're going to add 2. So front post double, 2 doubles in the next. You see this, the stitch is kind of behind. We're going to pop it out with a front post double and then put 2 doubles for our increase into the next stitch. This one's behind, so I'm going to pop it out. Two doubles in the next, in the top. By the time you're done going all the way around, you're going to have 30 stitches in the round. You're going to have 20 regular double crochets and 10 front post double crochets. So continue all the way around. I'm going to stop a few stitches before the end of the round, show you how to join, and then we're going to count just to make sure that we're on track. Okay, here we are at the end. I have 1 stitch left. I just completed a front post double crochet. Now I'm going to add 2 doubles into my last stitch. I'm not going to join yet. I want to make sure I've got everything right. So let's count our front post doubles because they're easy. They're popped out. They're easier to see. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got my 10. Now I should have 2 double crochet in between each of the front post doubles. So here's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So I have a total of 30 stitches. I'm going to join to the top of that first front post double with a slip stitch, and I'm going to tighten that up, and we're going to get ready for round 4. Round 4, we're going to pull up that loop just a tiny bit to make our chain. Now the first stitch is a front post double. Because it's a front post, I have to do the opposite. So we make a regular double crochet into that stitch. Now we have these 2 double crochets, and we're going to go ahead and do a front post around one of them, into the next double. Now we're going to do an increase. That means add a stitch. An increase means add a stitch. So where we just made our double crochet, around the post of that same stitch, we're going to add a front post double. That's the increase. Double crochet in the next. Front post double. Double crochet in the next. Increase, add a stitch by doing a front post double around that stitch we just crocheted into. Front post in the next. Regular double crochet in the next. Front post in the next. Double crochet. Front post increase. You're adding an extra stitch. Double crochet. Front post double. Double crochet. Front post increase around that same stitch. By the time you're done with this round, you're going to have 40 stitches. You're going to have 20 front post double crochets and 20 double crochets. So complete this round. I'll meet you right a few stitches before the end, and we will join and get ready for the next round. I'm now at the end of the 4th round. I have 1 stitch left. I just completed a front post double. I need to do a double crochet in the top of the next and do an increase. An extra stitch around that front post, or around the post of the stitch. I'm going to count my front post double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then we should have 20 double crochets. There's 1 in between each front post double. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Phew. All right. Going to slip stitch into the top of that first front post double. Pull our slip stitch tight and get ready for round 5. Round 5 is a super easy round. Round 5 is what we call a no increase round. We're not doing any increases. I'm going to tighten my ring up a little bit here. We're not doing any increases. And the purpose of doing these no increase rounds is to create a crown with a dome, not a flat cake pan crown, but a crown that's rounded and domed. It makes for a much better fit. So this is a super easy round. So let's bring up our loop a little bit to make our chain 1. And we're starting off here with a regular double crochet, so I need to pop it out with a front post double. The next stitch I just do a double, front post around the next, double into the next, front post, double. And you will continue this pattern all the way around. I'll meet you at the end and right before the last couple stitches so we can join and talk about the next round. Here I am at the end of the round. I have 1 stitch left. Need to complete a double crochet and then slip stitch into the top of that first front post and tighten down that slip stitch. You will notice that your hat is starting to curl up a little bit. No worries. Don't worry about it. That's exactly what it just does because the stitches are all done on the same side. We're not turning it back and forth. It tends to curl up a little bit, but I promise you the curling will turn into a lovely dome and it'll be fine. So the next round is round 6. We're going to pull up that loop just a little bit before we make our chain 1. And now we need to increase. So the way we're going to increase is we're going to start off with 2 double crochets in the first stitch. Front post around the next, double in the next, front post around the next. So we have 2, that's our increase, 2 doubles, front post, double, front post. And now we're going to do another increase. That means we're going to add 2 double crochets into the top of the next stitch. So we're going to follow the same pattern. So 2, front post, double crochet, front post, and now we add another increase. 2 doubles. Front post, double, front post, increase. When you are finished with this round, with round 6, you're going to have 50 stitches all the way around. You're going to have 30 double crochets and 20 front post double crochets. So I'll meet you at the end and we'll join together. Here we are at the end of round 6 and I have 1 stitch left and I need to pop it out to make it a front post double. Whoops. Then I need to join with a slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet. Tighten that up. And again, it's going to curl up right now just by nature of these post stitches. Post stitches sometimes curl a little bit until there's enough of them and it settles down. But you can see we're starting to form that lovely dome So now we need to start our round 7. Pull up a loop, make our chain 1. Now this is an increase round, so we have these 2 stitches, 2 double crochet stitches that are right next to each other. So this tells me whenever I see the 2 double crochets right next to each other, I know one of them is going to be an increase. The first one, we're going to do a front post double around it, double crochet into the next, and then we're going to do the increase, which means we're going to add a stitch, a front post double around the same stitch we just completed the double crochet in. Double crochet in the next, front post double, double crochet in the next. Now I've come upon these 2 double crochets that are right next to each other, so that tells me that's where I'm going to increase. Front post around the first one, double in the next, increase by doing a front post double around the stitch that I just double crocheted into. Double crochet, front post double, double crochet. There's the 2 doubles. Front post around the first, double in the second, then add your increase around the post of that second one. Continue this pattern all the way around, and I'm going to stop a few stitches before the end and we will join together. Okay, here we are at the end of round 7, and I have one more stitch to complete, and it is a double crochet, and I'm going to slip stitch join to the top of that first stitch is front post. Tighten up. At the end of round 7, I'm going to have 60 total stitches. There's going to be 30 double crochets and 30 front post double crochets. Now we're ready to start round 8, and it's an easy round. It's a no increase round. So we just follow the pattern. Chain 1. So if the previous stitch is a front post, then we make a double crochet into the regular double crochets. We pop it out to make a front post. So we just follow that front post double crochet pattern all the way around. Then, and again, these no increase rows in this design helps to create a beautiful round crown. So continue all the way around, and I will meet you one stitch before we join, and we'll join together. Okay, we have one stitch left, and I need to pop it out with a front post double crochet, and I need to slip stitch join to the first double, tighten up that slip stitch, and that was a no increase round. So at the end of round 8 you should have 60 double crochet or 60 stitches, 30 doubles, 30 front post doubles. So now we need to start round number 9. So chain, just like we always do, and we're going to, this is an increase round. So we're going to start with a front post, around the first, double in the second, front post around the next, double in the next, front post around the next, and this is where we're going to add our increase. We're going to add 2 double crochets in the top of that next. This is a front post. We're going to add 2 doubles into the top of that, so that's our increase. Front post, double in the next, front post in the next, double in the next, front post, and then add our increases. 2 doubles in the next. So we have how many stitches between the increase? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches between the increases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, then an increase. 5 stitches, and then an increase. So let's do one more. There's the front post, double, front post, double, front post. There's our 5 stitches. We have a front post double crochet from the previous row that we're going to add 2 doubles into for our increase. Continue that pattern all the way around, and I will meet you a few stitches before the end and we'll join together. Okay, here we are at the end of row 9, sorry. And I need to complete one more stitch here. It's going to be a double. Oh, it's going to be an increase. 2 doubles in the last. And then slip stitch join. Tighten up. And at the end of row 9, you're going to have 70 stitches. And that's 40 double crochets and 30 front post double crochets. So now we're ready to start round 10. And this is the last round before we start our body, the body of the hat. So we're going to chain up 1, and the first stitch is going to be a double crochet. Then we're going to pop out the next for a front post. This is an increase round, and remember, when we see those 2 double crochets together like that, that's where we're going to put our increase. The next stitch is going to be a double. The next is a front post. The next is a double. Here's the 2 double crochets together. The first one we're going to make a front post around, double into the second one, and then we add our increase. Double crochet, front post double around the post of that second stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches before we have our increase. Let's do it one more time. So we have double, front post, double, front post, double. There are 2 doubles together, so front post around the first, double in the second, and add our increased stitch, which is a front post double around that same stitch. That's the pattern all the way to the end. By the time you get done with this round, you're going to have 80 stitches, 40 doubles, 40 front post doubles. So I'll see you a few stitches before the end and we will join together. All right, we're almost to the end. We have these 2 double crochets that are right next to each other. The first one is going to be a front post, double crochet into the next, and do my increase around that stitch. Slip stitch and join. As I said before, at the end of this round you're going to have 80 stitches. And I know it's curled up a little bit, but when you uncurl it, look how nice the crown is. It's so nice. So we can start the body. This is the second part of the hat, is going to be the body of the hat. And the great thing about the body of the hat is you just follow the pattern. If you start with, it's a 2-row pattern, so the first round of the body, if the first stitch, which it should be, is a double crochet, that means you're going to make it a front post. The next stitch was a double crochet or a front post double, you're just going to make it a double. So you're going to follow this pattern where you're doing the opposite stitch from the previous row. And this opposite stitching is what makes this texture, this bumpy, pebbly texture. So go ahead and finish your first round of the body, and I'll meet you 1 stitch before the end, and we will join and talk about the rest of your body rounds. Okay, we're here at the end of round 11, which is our first round of the body. I have 1 more stitch to go. I need to make a double crochet, and I'm going to slip stitch, join. And you should still have 80 stitches around. You're still going to have 40 front post doubles and 40 doubles. Now round 12 is the same as round 11, except for instead of starting with a front post double, you're going to start with just a double crochet. So rounds 11 and 12 are the same pattern, but you do the opposite stitch. So 11 you start with a front post double, and round 12 you start with a double. So it's that opposite, you get that opposite effect. Now before I go any further, I am going to mark the first round of my hat body with a stitch marker. And the reason is because it is very difficult to count. This is the hardest part of this hat, is counting the rounds. It's really difficult, especially if everything's the same color. It can be very difficult to find your round, where the end of the crown to the beginning of the body. So mark the first round of the body with a stitch marker so you can more easily count the rounds before you start your ribbing. So go ahead and complete. You're going to repeat rounds 11 and 12 3 more times, and then you're going to end with a round 11. So that's a total of 9 body rounds. Now, as you continue to work rounds of the body, try your hat on. See how you see where the body rounds, the edges of the body rounds fall. I like to continue doing rounds of the body until it reaches like mid-ear, like the middle of my ear, before I start adding my ribbing. So if you want to add a round or 2, go for it. Doesn't matter. make it, that's the beauty of a top-down hat, is you can make adjustments as you go. So go ahead and complete as many body rounds as you would like, and then we will come back and we will start the ribbing, the final part of the hat, the ribbing. Okay, here we are at the end of 9 rows of the body of the hat, and I'm going to complete this last stitch. I'm going to add a double crochet and slip stitch to join. Now at this point, I've already tried on the hat several times and I like where the edge of the hat is falling about mid-ear. So now I'm going to start the ribbed brim of the hat. But before I do that, I do want to show you just how nice the crown is. And this is still a little curly. All this curl will go away once I start the brim of the hat, the ribbed brim. The other thing I want to show you is it can be very tricky counting rows with this stitch. And there's 2 ways that you can do it. That's why you really need to mark the first row of your the body of your hat when you've completed your crown, and this is 1 row. This is the first row of the body of the hat. So I can count this as 1 row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or you can count diagonally. You can count the stitches diagonally like this. 1, and get a little closer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's how you count the rows, the rounds, I should say. So now we're going to start 5 rounds of the ribbing. And the first 2 rounds, I'm going to continue to use my 4mm hook. And the pattern for the ribbing, you're going to chain 1 just like you did with the other rows, and instead of doing a double crochet, you're actually going to do a half double crochet, a front post half double crochet. If the first stitch in your round as you start your ribbing is a front post, I want you to go ahead and do a front post half double crochet around that stitch. If you've added rounds and your first stitch is just a regular double crochet, I want you to do a back post half double crochet around that stitch, and I'll show you how to do that. So a back post is you yarn over just like you're going to do a half double crochet, but you're going to come through the back of the stitch, insert your hook in front of the post, push it to the back, yarn over, pull back through those same 2 spaces, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. I'm going to go ahead and do a front post, which is you yarn over, we insert a hook from side to side around the post, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Let me do a back post around this next stitch. I'm going to pop it forward with my finger, take my hook around the back, pull my hook back through those 2 spaces, yarn over, and pull through all 3. I'm going to do a front post half double Let me go ahead and do another back post half double. That's the tougher one to see. So I'm going to pop that stitch forward, yarn over through the back, bring your hook up through the space next to the double crochet, push it into the space after the double crochet, yarn over, pull back through both of those spaces, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Here's the front post half double. Back post half double. Yarn over, through the back, up, in the space next to, down through the space after, yarn over, pull through all three loops. So it's just an alternating front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, front post half double, back post half double. This forms the ribbing for your hat. So you're going to continue this pattern, this stitch pattern, all the way around, and I want you to complete that, and I'll meet you a stitch or two right before the end of the round. Okay, here we are at the end of the first round of ribbing, and what's really cool about this ribbing is you can see it blends perfectly with the stitches in the hat, those double crochets, those front post double crochets. I blended the half double front post crochets right into that stitch pattern, and the ribbing doesn't look like it's a separate attached ribbing. It just blends right in quite nicely. So I still have 1 stitch left, and it's going to be a half double back post. Let me complete that stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first front post stitch that we made. Okay, so now we're about to start the second round of ribbing, and I'm going to continue to use a 4mm hook. It's the same as the previous round, so chain 1. And what's nice is this round is super easy because you just follow the pattern. You started with a half double back post, and you do a half double back post right in the half double back post from the previous row. So you just continue to follow that same pattern, and it creates a firm ribbing with just enough stretch to keep it snug on your head without being too tight. Because I wear glasses, and sometimes if ribbing is too tight, it can bother me. But I also like my hat to be snug on my head. I want it to cover my ears, and I don't want it to ride up, like if I'm wearing a hooded coat. I don't want it to ride up underneath it. I want it to stay on my head. So you can really start to see the ribbing. It looks fantastic. So this is the second round. You're going to make 4 rounds of this ribbing. Now, if you decide you only want to have 2 rounds of the ribbing, or 3 rounds, or 4 rounds, or 5 rounds, you can do that, because with this type of a design of hat, it's a top-down design, and that means that you can adjust the fit as you go along. So I'm going to continue and finish up my last 2 rounds of ribbing. I will say this, I almost forgot. This second round I'm going to complete with my 4mm hook, and my last 2 to 3 rounds, we'll see how many rounds. I'm going to start with 2, and if it's not enough, I'll make 5 or make 3 more rounds. And I'm going to switch to my 3.75 millimeter hook or F hook, just to tighten up the brim a little bit. Okay, so I will see you at the end after my ribbing is complete. Here I am at the end of 5 rows of ribbing. I have one last stitch to make. I need to make a half double back post and slip stitch join. And then all I need to do is fasten off. Fasten off and weave in tails. And since I used one color of yarn, I only have 2 tails to weave in. And I do want to show you, I did use an F 3.75 millimeter hook for the last 3 rounds. And look at how nice this is. It's beautiful. Beautiful. And it fits. I've been trying it on as I'm going. Look at the ribbing. Isn't it really beautiful ribbing? Beautiful stitches. Beautiful crown. Can you tell I like this hat? I really like it a lot. But it fits so nicely. And as I said before, the join is not super conspicuous. It blends in pretty well. I do want to show you a trick for weaving in your ends. If you look at the inside of the hat, the inside is just as nice. You can really see the join. You can see the join on the inside. But typically when you're weaving in tails, you use a yarn needle. Here's 2 examples of yarn needles. I like a bent tipped yarn needle. But 3-weight yarn is a little bit thinner. And I prefer to use a large eye embroidery needle to weave in my tails. The problem with the embroidery needle is getting the yarn in the eye of the needle, even though it's a large eye. So when I purchased my set of embroidery needles, it came in a nice little tube like this, and it also came with this really awesome handy dandy tool. And what I do to get my yarn in my large eye embroidery needle is I stick that hook tool through the eye of the needle, lay the yarn inside the hook, and just pull it through. It works so well. But if you don't have, if your embroidery needles or your large eye needles don't come with this little handy dandy tool, you can also make your own. What you need is a sewing needle or a beading needle, super thin needle. Add some thread, add a loop of thread to the needle, just like you would like if you were sewing. And tie a knot at the end. And make sure that the needle can fit through the eye, or the skinny needle can fit through the eye of the large eye embroidery needle. Make sure it can fit through there. Because what you're going to do is you're going to put the yarn inside, it's really hard to see, inside this thread loop. So I'm going to do that first, I think. I'm going to put the yarn inside the thread loop. Just like that. Then get my yarn large eye needle. And use it just like a needle threader, just like that. And you just remove it. And then you have this nice small needle to use while you're weaving in your tails. The smaller yarn I think you can do a better weaving in work with a smaller needle. So when I weave in the tail around the magic circle, I go, oh dear, I go around the circle at least once, all the way around. And it's really easy to get underneath the stitches with the small needle. Okay, I've gone in one direction. Now I'm going to go back through the other direction. And I'm sewing from the inside of the hat. And once I've gone in two directions, I'll even split the yarn. And then I clip my yarn. So if you look on the outside, nice and flat, perfect, is not going to come undone. Our other tail is the one at the brim. I will use my large eye embroidery needle again and my tool to thread my yarn onto my needle. Makes it so easy to do. Get that out of the way. Take your time when you're weaving in your ends. Don't pull your stitches as you're weaving through. Don't pull it too tight or you're going to distort those edges. Don't pull it too tight. I'll make sure I didn't mess it up. But you're going to be weaving in those ends firmly but not too tightly through those columns of ribbing in at least 3 different directions. There was 1, 2, actually I already went 3. Let me go back through one more here. And see how with that small needle you can really get into the stitches, and it makes your weaving in virtually invisible. Just go through right there. And then clip your yarn. Perfect. Looks great. So let's look at the outside. There's this showed the crown and the body, my little stitch marker there. So there's the completed hat. It's a great design, and what I love about it, it has a great fit, and it's just a real subtle texture, but yet it's a little bit, it has a little bit more interest than just straight double crochet or half double crochet, which I love those hats too. And the one thing I told you to do is stick around, because I have some tips for how you can make this hat in different sizes, because this is a women's size medium hat. So if you want to make this in a larger size, the first thing I would do, rather than change the pattern, is to change my hook. I would go up to, this was made with a 4.0 or a G hook. I would go up to a 4.5 millimeter hook. Let me find my 4.5 real fast. Here it is. If I wanted to make it just slightly larger, I would go up to a 4.5 millimeter hook. This is not an H hook, it's 4.5. H is 5 millimeters. But with a 3-weight yarn, if you wanted a hat that was a little bit larger by about an inch or two in the diameter of the crown, I would go with a 4.5 millimeter hook. Now, what if you wanted to make it? I would actually change to a 4-weight yarn. And a lot of times people will call it a worsted weight 4-weight yarn. This hat is made with a 4-weight yarn or a worsted weight yarn. This is just Bernat Super Value. I believe it's the color oatmeal. And I used a G or 4 millimeter hook with a 4-weight yarn, and it made the hat large enough to fit my husband's head. This isn't his color per se. He didn't like the color, but this is oatmeal. But it fits his head, and he has a large head. So I was able to go up to a men's size, but I did change the yarn. But this, look, the stitch with worsted weight is gorgeous. It's a little bit chunkier, but it's really pretty, and the ribbing is pretty too. And you can also, if you want to make a lady size or a women's size medium hat in a 4-weight or worsted weight yarn, the trick is simply to stop at row 7 or round 7. Stop at round 7 and complete your body rounds and your ribbing. And it's super cute. It's chunkier, but this is a snug fit. I'm not going to lie, it's a snug fit. I used a 5.5 millimeter hook. Now, if you want this a little bit larger, go up to a J or 6 millimeter hook with a worsted weight yarn. Go to round 7 and complete the body rounds and the ribbing, and it will give you a nice medium-sized hat. And it's beautiful. I love it. But it does have a snugger fit. Here's another one in the oatmeal. Nice. And I thought, you know what? I want to try this hat with a variegated yarn. And look how cool it came out. I love this. This this is actually a Bernat Super Value. It's a variegated yarn. It's in fresh lilac. And I used about 150 yards. This is what the yarn, this was a partial skein. So it was kind of finishing up a partial skein of yarn. So this is what the yarn looks like. The color runs are about, looks like the color runs are about 6 inches long. About 6.5, 7 inches long. There's some variegated yarns that have shorter color runs. I think the 6-7 inch long color run made for some really nice pooling. I love this hat. Look how it came out. Isn't that cool? So cool. I love the way the yarn pooled and the way it kind of ran right into the ribbing like that. But yeah, it was super fast because you're only doing 7 rounds then the body, and then the ribbing. But again, this is a hat that you try on as you go, and you make adjustments. And that's the beauty of making top-down hats. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you would like to have a written pattern, I do have a written pattern for the hat. This is my draft that I made notes on, but you can download the written pattern. It's free. And I also have another resource for planning a hat. It gives you the brim or the diameters of the different crowns of different sizes. In fact, I used the child size crown diameter to play around with making a child size version of this hat, and I think it's gonna work, but I want to try it on my granddaughter when I see her in a couple days. I want to try it on her to see if it actually fits her head. But look how cute it is. This is a child size hat, and I use this planner to help me figure out the crown size that I needed to make for the child size hat. This is a nice resource. You can see I keep it in my binder. I 3-hole punch things. I have centimeters and inches, and also some construction methods, notes, and information on how yarns influence the stretch of your hat. Just a nice little handy dandy resource to keep in your binder. So when you go to make your own hat, you've got some resources, or if you decide you want to design your own hats, you've got some resources to use. So those I will link in the description, and you'll have those. If you're looking for a hat that's a little bit simpler, and I also have a half double crochet hat pattern that's quite nice. It also has a written pattern to go with it. I'll link that in the show notes. And the other thing is, if you found this information in the video helpful, please like and subscribe so that other crocheters that need help learning how to crochet can find my content. And keep crocheting, and if you're a beginner, don't give up. You're doing better than you think. Thanks so much for watching.